What's up? It's Flint from Island coming to you from a partial sea cave. If you feel like you are losing out on opportunities or friendships, relationships because of communication errors, this is for you. Imagine you stop yourself right before you say the thing that you actually want to say. An example of what this actually looks like is you're tired of being the one who always drives to everyone else, all of your friends who are in a different kind of further location. So you send out an invitation. You go, hey guys, I'm kind of tired of driving to your site every time. Do you guys want to come to mine? Nothing wrong with that. It's tactful. It's a good first pass. But do you want to come to this event with me is a different question than do you want to spend time with me? Right? And that is a further different statement than it hurts when you never come to spend time with me. You sent a tactful version, but you stopped short of what you actually wanted to say. And the tactful version does not give them the consent to reject you. And imagine they say no to this, right? Because they're too far, they're too tired, it's a long day, kids, whatever the reason is. So they say no. And you come around less. And maybe you invite them with that same question again. Do you want to come over to my side this weekend? They're like, no, same reasons. Right? So eventually you stop asking. And eventually you stop hanging out. What's happening here? Well, they're receiving invitations to drive an hour to go hang out with you. But at no point in time do they ever hear that your feelings are hurt and that you feel like you're doing all the work and that nobody will come to see you. That it feels like no one even wants to see you. They don't know that. They quite literally cannot know that from that question or those previous comments. They'd have to jump to a conclusion. They'd have to assume. There's a gap in between what they actually know and what you want them to know. It's the exact same move at work. You talk to your boss about your performance, your hours, how hard you're working, right? But they have to jump to the conclusion that you want to raise, that you want to own a team, that you want to own the project. There's a gap between where you stop with what you say and what you actually want. And in that gap, you are requiring the other person to guess, likely because you don't want to be rejected or told no or have a real loss in that moment. So you make them assume because it protects you. And here's the whole problem. They can't say yes to something you never asked them about. You don't get the raise. You don't get the friendship that you wanted. And what happens as a consequence of that? You get bitter, right? Or you never have the opportunity to form real, genuine friendships with people who had the opportunity to tell you no. And so you never feel like you fit in because there was never an opportunity to. And that's what's so frustrating about this is you feel like you're making an effort, and you are, but you're not making the effort that will allow the formation of a real relationship or a real opportunity to come about. The only way out of this is the slightly uncomfortable one. You have to give them the consent to reject you. And that means walking into the room and saying it plainly. This is the amount of money I want to have. You can tell me no, but this is what I want. And if I can't have it now, for the work that I'm doing, what is the path to get there? It means telling the person that their behavior is actually hurting you or that there's something that you genuinely want. It's putting yourself up on a platter and asking, do you want this or not? And that's painful when this is potentially you. I think that most people never really do this in their entire lives, save for like a handful of situations where their hand is really forced. But those are usually the more trivial situations and never the situations where it actually matters. And it is the only thing that gets you the real answer. You cannot assume. You have to take responsibility for the things that you want in life. You can't just allow assumptions to dictate the results that you want in life. I had one of my good friends lived an hour from me when I was living in Santa Cruz up in California. I had a spare bedroom or like a pull-out couch. I was in this rad area. And he never came down once. I invited him many times. And to be honest, it hurt a little bit. But instead of going quiet, I was like, dude, I'm kind of blunt. I was like, dude, you're kind of a piece of shit. Like, why would you not visit? But that allowed for him to tell me. He's like, dude, I'm doing this thing and like, I feel bad about it. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm doing this job that I hate, has these weird long hours, and I'm trying to do it so I can get into the school. And it's just been like a really tough situation. It's like, I know that that's been the situation. To be honest, it's still pretty lame that you didn't come down. He's like, I know, I apologize. But that strengthened our friendship because we were able to see across the aisle on both sides. I could see that he was actually having a really difficult time. That's not about me. Technically, I was still kind of rejected in that moment because he still didn't come down to see me in Santa Cruz, but we still spent time together. We still reached across the aisle. We still communicated. We knew where each other stood. And I could forgive it, and I could change that standard that I had with him with respect to him coming down to see me in this one specific area because I understood his context. What does that do for me? That does something really interesting, which is it allows for me to have the full scenario, the full context, and it gives me permission to either forgive that or to not accept it. Right? But if I stop talking to him without saying any of that, without any of the context of how he's doing, then I'm just making a unilateral decision to end some friendship without any context about how the other person is doing. But now that I have the context, I have the ability to say, is this something that I allow in friendships? Is this something that I permit with my friends? That when they're in this type of situation, they don't come and see me. And in this situation, obviously, I said, that's fine. You're having a rough time. Is there any way I can help you? The point of that is that I could forgive it because I understood it. And I could decide for myself whether he's someone I still want close or not, given that this kind of behavior exists. But none of that context exists if I never say the thing, if I never ask the question. The silence just leaves you guessing forever, and you call the guess the way it is. And that's the whole point. That's the thing you want. The money, the promotion, the relationship. It's on the other side of communicating the fairly direct sentence you keep not saying. Not because you can't say it, but because it means they might say no. You have to say it anyways. Give them the consent to reject you. It's the only version where you ever get a genuine yes, where you actually get to fit in, where you actually get the opportunity. If you're an engineer who's doing fine on paper, but quietly you're furious that you're not further along, this is probably one of the gaps that you've been calling discipline, right? Or just how it is. I'm just going to work hard. It's like, actually, you might have been able to have that opportunity a while ago. You just don't speak up because you're afraid of being rejected or you're afraid of something else. It's every raise, it's every project, it's every relationship you want and never ask plainly for. And the way that you get through this is by establishing a frame that's based off of your core values that gives you not only the permission, but also the comfort that you never had before to ask questions in a way that gets you the answer you want, but still feels like you are being fair, you are being just in the context, and feels like you are being aligned with your values. An example of this might be changing the way that you frame these questions. A lot of the clients that I work with, just because they're engineers or scientists, systems thinkers, tend to be really creative and curious people. And so a very effective frame for lots of them to communicate about difficult things is through the value of curiosity. Instead of very direct, blunt statements like other people might be comfortable with, whether they're positive or useful or not, questions that are framed through the value of curiosity. Why is this happening? What does it look like for me to get this opportunity? Long story short, if you don't ask for the things you want, you're probably not going to get them.